And now here is Pastor Arnold Murray.
Good day to you. God bless you. Say, welcome to the Shepherd's Chapel. Welcome to this family Bible study hour. We're ready to get back on our Father's Word, chapter 43, the great book of Genesis. In the beginning. How was it in the beginning? It's important that you know, because that's kind of the way it's going to be in the end. We had the tree of life in the beginning, and we're going to have the tree of life at the end. And there was a flood in Genesis, and there's going to be a flood, as it is written in Revelation chapter 12, a flood of lies from Satan in the great book of Revelation at the end. So one needs to be informed. Little Joseph, who God has singled out, sometimes God will do that to you, and you want to be able to handle that. And he has been sold by his own brothers into Egypt because God knew a famine was coming. And that famine is recorded in history as well as the Bible, from 1708 BC to 1700 BC. Right? I mean, time perfect for this. And that famine has hit, and all the visions that God showed little old Joseph of his brothers bowing to his sheaf, beginning to come to pass, because payday is here. Joseph has been made second in power in Egypt by Pharaoh himself. Even runs the second chariot. And here his own brothers come down to buy grain in Egypt. And they naturally didn't recognize him. And he kind of tricked them into telling their family, and he's accused them of being spies. He talked rough to them. And they admitted they had a little brother, which would be Joseph's full brother, the only one out of the whole bunch that would be a full brother. And he said, the only way I'm going to, and he kept Simeon and sent them on back home, and he said, the only way I'm going to know that you're not spies, you're going to bring that little youngest brother, so I know you're not lying. And we pick it up there, chapter 43, verse 1. They have returned back home, and Israel, or Jacob, is not allowing them to take Benjamin down. Chapter 43, verse 1, and the famine was sore in the land. I mean, it just worse, it got worse daily. 2, and it came to pass when they had eaten up the corn which they had brought out of Egypt, their father said unto them, go again and buy us a little food. Well, now he knew what the conditions were. Joseph, the great Egyptian, has already told him, don't you dare come back without that boy, or I'll know you're crooks. Verse 3, and Judah spake unto him, saying, the man did solemnly protest unto us, saying, ye shall not see my face except your brother be with you. In other words, you're not going to see my face smiling. It's going to have a big frown on it. You're going to be in big trouble. Verse 4, and if thou wilt send our brother with us, we will go down and buy thee food. But Benjamin's got to go with us. Verse 5, but if thou wilt not send him, we will not go down. For the man said unto us, you shall not see my face, that means in peace, except your brother be with you. In other words, they knew he might behead him. Verse 6, and Israel said, now Israel, of course, is the name God gave Jacob, and it means Israel, it consists of all 12 sons. Wherefore dealt ye so ill with me as to tell the man whether ye had yet a brother? Why did you have to tell him that? Verse 7, and Judah very patiently explains, and they said, the man asked us straightly of our state and of our kindred, saying, is your father yet alive? Have ye another brother? And we told him according to the tenor of these words, we told him the truth. Could we certainly know that he would say, bring your brother down? How would we know he would request that? Verse 8, and Judah said unto Israel his father, send the lad with me, and we will arise and go, that we may live and not die, both we and thou, and also our little ones. We're all starving to death here. Let the lad go with me, or all of us are going to die anyway. Verse 9, I will be surety for him. I guarantee. Of my hand shalt thou require him. If I bring him not unto thee, and set him before thee, then let me bear the blame forever. Not just for a little while, forever. In other words, if Judah couldn't have brought him back, he wouldn't have come back. Verse 10, for except we had lingered, surely now we had returned this second time. We should, Simeon's down there now being held. We should have already made this second trip. And we should have already been returned back from it. Verse 11, and their father Israel said unto them, if it must be so now, do this, take the best fruits in the land in your vessels. And I mean, this was sparse because of the drought. And carry down the man a present, a little balm, a little honey, spices and myrrh, nuts and almonds. I mean, these would have been hard pressed for. Verse 12, and take double money in your hand, and the money that was brought again in the mouth of your sacks, carry it again in your hand. Peradventure, it was an oversight. Somebody might have made a mistake. Okay. Verse 13, take also your brother, and arise, go again unto the man. You can go ahead and take Benjamin. 14, and God Almighty give you mercy before the man, that he may send away your other brother and Benjamin. If I be bereaved of my children, I'm bereaved. If it's going to happen, I guess it's going to happen, and that's it. He knew it would kill him. If little Benjamin didn't come back, he had already lost Joseph, who was his favorite. And little does he but know that Joseph is the one. Jacob never knew the difference but what an animal tore Joseph limb for limb. He didn't know his own sons had sold their brother into Egypt. But here stands the other son, is the one that's kind of talking rough to him and shaping him up. Verse 15. And the men took that present, and they took double money in their hand. And Benjamin rose up and went down to Egypt and stood before Joseph. You will notice all the ands there, drawing specific attention and being emphatic. 16. And when Joseph saw Benjamin with them, it's his only brother, his only full brother, little old Benjamin. He said to the ruler of his house, bring these men home and slay and make ready, for these men shall dine with me at noon. I want you to prepare a good feast. They're going to chow it down with me. Verse 17. And the man did as Joseph bade, and the man brought the men into Joseph's house. Now this would start the old motors running. Why? They're going right into the quarters of the ruler for Pharaoh. What's gone wrong? Put yourself in that position. It would look mighty strange. Verse 18, and the men were afraid because they were brought into Joseph's house. This one that talked rough to them. And they said, because of the money that was returned in our sacks at the first time are we brought in, they're going to hang us sure enough, all right? That he may seek occasion against us and fall upon us and take us for bondmen and our asses. He's going to do it. We've had it. And I'm sure Joseph is kind of putting them through the ringer a little bit, and I don't blame him. After all, they threatened to kill him, and they did sell him into bondage to a bunch of heathen. Think about it. 19. And they came near to the steward of Joseph's house, and they communed with him at the door of the house. They said, it's time, we better start do some talking here. Verse 20, and said, oh, sir, We came indeed down at the first time to buy food. And you're going to find out here, okay? 21. And it came to pass when we came to the end that we opened our sacks, and behold, every man's money was in the mouth of his sack, our money in full weight. And we have brought it again in our hand. We want to get this squared away before somebody gets hot at us, okay? Let's make this right. 22. And other money have we brought down in our hands to buy food. We cannot tell who put our money in our sacks. We do not know how that happened, but it was there. 23, and he said, this is Joseph's servant, and he said, peace be to you, fear not, your God and the God of your father hath given you treasure in your sacks. I had your money. There's no fraud here. I had it. And he brought Simeon out unto them. He brought him out of prison and returned their brother to them. And they're still at Joseph's house. Why? What's going to happen to them? I mean, you know, people get beheaded here for just not too much going on, and they are very anxious. 24. And the man brought the men into Joseph's house and gave them water, and they washed their feet, and he gave them their asses provender. It was customary, you know, when on dirt paths your feet get dirty, that's just a custom to clean up, be ready for food. 25. And they made ready the present against Joseph came at noon, for they heard that they should eat bread there. They're going to have food there. They had no idea, no conception. Why? Why is this happening? 26. And when Joseph came home, they brought him the present which was in their hand into the house, and bowed themselves to him to the earth. And again, here is this vision given to little Joseph at 17 of his brothers, of his sheaf standing tall and all of his brothers bowing to him. That's what really got him. And here they're doing it. They don't even realize it's their brother. 27. And he asked them of their welfare, how you doing? And said, is your father well? The old man of whom you spake, is he yet alive? Oh, how he loved his father. He truly did. And, you know, I mean, after all, he was his favorite. And, but naturally, we see the family tie and the family love here, asking about the old man. He sees everyone else there. 28. And they answered, thy servant our father is in good health. He is yet alive. And they bowed down their heads and made obeisance. And there we go again. I mean, they are showing every respect to this man, not knowing who he is. Well, I mean, stop and think a moment. How many would even consider that this little waif of a boy that they had sold into bondage would be in this position? I mean, the boss of Egypt. It couldn't happen. Well, God can cause a lot of things to happen. Verse 29, and he lifted up his eyes and saw his brother Benjamin, his only full brother, his mother's son, and said, is this your younger brother, of whom ye spake unto me? And he said, God be gracious unto thee, my son. And 30, and Joseph made haste, for his bowels did yearn upon his brother. In other words, from inside it was tearing him up. He couldn't hardly handle it, and he sought where to weep, and he entered into his chamber and wept there. He didn't want to see him. He didn't want them to see him break down, but he couldn't handle it anymore. And he went in and released some of the love, the anxiety of seeing his long-lost full brother and his other brothers. He still loved them, even though they were hateful to him at one time. And don't worry, he's going to test them out big time. He has already found out, and I'm sure he was beginning to wonder about Simeon, They've been gone a long time without coming back to claim their brother. Like as if they would sell him just like they did Joseph. So they're not out of the woods yet on that score. 31, and he washed his face and went out and refrained himself and set on bread. This word refrained is enkratia in the Greek, which it means self-control. He practiced that self-control. Ahak in the Hebrew tongue, same thing you would find in the Hebrew manuscripts and as the other Greek word in the Septuagint, that he practiced this self-control. You know, when God is using you and expects your cooperation and you're fulfilling His will, it takes self-control. I mean, think of the emotions inside Joseph. Here is his younger brother he hasn't seen in years, and his other brothers. And he knows God foretold him this was going to happen, and he knows that God is in this, but it took self-control, and he's still not sure because they left Simeon there so long, not knowing it was their dad that caused the delay. 32. Believe it or not, because of Joseph, the delay was because the father had lost Joseph. He didn't want to lose Benjamin. 32. And they set on for him by himself, and for them by themselves, and for the Egyptians which did eat with them by themselves, because the Egyptians might not eat bread with the Hebrews, for that is an abomination unto the Egyptian. And there are many other food laws that I won't even go into, like they won't eat female meat and so on and so forth in certain things. What it means is Joseph was of the higher echelon. He wasn't going to sit at a table with them, but with the others, the Egyptians sit here and the Hebrews here, okay, because it was illegal for the Egyptians to eat with the Hebrews. Verse 33. And they set before him the firstborn according to his birthright, and the youngest according to his youth, and the men marveled one at another. Think about it. How does he know which is the eldest and in the order perfectly that we go down all the way to the last born? Certainly he must be a seer, which means a prophet. Surely he must be to know in what order we were born. Of course, they don't realize it's their own brother sitting there. He knows very well the order of his brothers. But they marveled. They should have been getting a clue, right? 34. And he took and sent messages unto them from before him, messes rather. He sent messes unto them from before him, food. But Benjamin's mess was 5 times so much as any of theirs. And they drank and were merry with him. He didn't detect any. See, he was trying them for jealousy. If I show favoritism to Benjamin, are they going to gang up and hate little Benjamin? Because it's obvious. I'm sending 5 times, very obvious. 5 being grace, of course. But I'm going to check them out. I'll see if they get jealous now of little Benjamin. And I mean, he just really piled little Benjamin up there, showed partiality. A parent shouldn't do that. But that's the way he would find out if his brothers would be jealous of Benjamin by Benjamin being favored through this, even at a time when I am sure that the stress level here is running all the way to the top of the top floor. Okay, I'm sure the stress is tremendous here with this group. But Joseph is on a fishing expedition to find out the emotions of his own brother as to his forgiving them, God's presence within it, and would they do it again? He wants to know, would they sell their little brother? Here goes, chapter 44, verse 1. And he commanded the steward of his house, saying, fill the men's sack with food, as much as they can carry. I mean, you give them a full load. and put every man's money in his sack's mouth, return the money again, 2, and put my cup, put my cup, the silver cup, that specific silver cup, in the sack's mouth of the youngest and his corn money, and he did according to the word that Joseph had spoken. He's going to see if when he catches them and proves Benjamin a thief, if they will still sacrifice little Benjamin. You see, he's checking this out all the way because of what happened to him. He's testing his brothers, okay? So it's kind of testy time. Verse 3. As soon as the morning was light, the men were sent away, they and their asses. 4. And when they were gone out of the city, and not yet far off, Joseph said unto his steward, Up, follow after the men, and when thou dost overtake them, say unto them, Wherefore have you rewarded evil for good? Why have you done me this way? Of course, he's got that silver cup, the main drinking cup of the so-called muckety duck, head boss, in little old Benjamin's sack. Verse 5. Is not this, why have you rewarded me after me being so good to you? 5. Is not this it in which my Lord drinketh, and whereby indeed he divineth? Ye have done evil in so doing. Of course, Joseph didn't need to divine. God led Joseph, but at least the way of the Egyptian, he didn't need an object. It's done in jest to entrap the older brothers. 6. And he overtook them, and he spake unto them these same words that servant did. 7. And they said unto him, Wherefore saith my Lord these words? God forbid that thy servant should do according to this thing. We wouldn't steal anything. We even brought the money back in the sack. Well, let's let them say it. Verse 8. Behold, the money which we found in our sacks' mouths, we brought again unto thee out of the land of Egypt. How then should we steal out of thy Lord's house silver or gold? Why would we do it? Verse 9. With whomsoever of thy servants it be found, both let him die, and we also will be my Lord's bondmen. Whoa. It's in Benjamin's sack. They're pronouncing a death sentence on little old Benjamin. Verse 10, and he said, Now also let it be according unto my words, or your words rather. He with whom it is found shall be my servant, and ye shall be blameless. He said, I'll change this up a little bit. I'm not going to kill him. The one that is found with will be my servant, and the rest of you can go on. You see Joseph in this, don't you? In other words, he's setting up Benjamin to see if his brothers will sell him. Because, I mean, here he's made it very clear, all you've got to do, when he knows where they're going to find the silver vessel. And Joseph wants to know, are they going to ride on off home with double money and all the grain and sell their little brother? I want to know. And you can't blame him for that. Verse 11. Then they wanted to document, to prove they didn't have it. They speedily took down every man his sack to the ground and opened every man his sack. 12. And he searched and began at the eldest and left at the youngest, and the cup was found in Benjamin's sack. Uh-oh. I mean, look what they promised their dad. They know if Benjamin doesn't come home, it's going to kill their father. I mean, trouble, trouble, trouble. Verse 13. Then they rent their clothes and laded every man his ass and returned to the city. I mean, they didn't run. Every one of them loaded back up and back they went. 14. And Judah and his brethren came to Joseph's house, for he was yet there, and they fell before him on the ground. I mean, we're shucking the old cob down right here, the sheaves, all right, and they're paying obeisance to to Joseph. They're in trouble, big trouble. 15. And Joseph said unto them, what deed is this that ye have done? Wot ye not that such a man as I can certainly divine? Don't you know I can tell you took it, and don't you know something else? I can divine your head right off your shoulders. And they knew that as well. 16. And Judah said, what shall we say unto my Lord? The old guilt comes back for having sold their brother originally. What shall we speak, or how shall we clear ourselves? God hath found out the iniquity of thy servants, the sin of selling Joseph, in other words. Behold, we are my Lord's servants, both we and he also with whom the cup is found. 17, and he said, God forbid that I should do so, but the man in whose hand the cup is found, he shall be my servant. And as for you, get ye up in peace unto your father. Giving him a chance, a clean shot here. All you got to do is leave Benjamin and you're free to go. No hard feelings. Go home. The test of tests. 18, then Judah came near unto him and said, O my Lord, let thy servant, I pray thee, speak a word in my Lord's ears. And let not thine anger burn against thy servant, for thou art even as Pharaoh. Joseph is beginning to find out they're not going to sell Benjamin. Okay, that's what he wanted to know. 19. My Lord asked his servant, saying, have you a father or a brother? That's what you ask in the first trip. 20. And we said unto my Lord, we have a father, an old man, and a child of his old age, a little one, and his brother is dead. Whoa. That's Joseph. And Joseph is standing right there before him. He's talking to Joseph. And he alone is left of his mother, and his father loveth him. He's all the old man's got left is this little Benjamin. 21. And thou saidst unto thy servants, bring him down unto me, that I may set mine eyes upon him. And 22. And we said unto my Lord, the lad cannot leave his father. And if he should leave his father would die. It would kill our father. He would simply die of a broken heart. 23, and thou saidst unto thy servants, except your youngest brother come down with you, you shall see my face no more, not in peace. And we knew that we would be in trouble, and Simeon, no doubt our brother, would die. 24, and it came to pass when we came up unto thy servant, my father, we told him the words of my Lord. We told him what you said. 25. And our father said, go again and buy us a little food. 26. And he said, 26. And we said, we cannot go down if our youngest brother be with us, then will we go down. If we may not see the man's face except our youngest brother be with us. There, we're not going to be able to do it. 27. And thy servant my father said unto us, ye know that my wife bare me 2 sons. And he's talking about his favorite, okay? 28. And the one went out from me, and I said, surely he is torn in pieces. And I saw him not since. That was Joseph himself. 29. And if ye take this also from me, little Benjamin, and mischief befall him, you shall bring down my gray hairs with sorrow to the grave. It will kill me. That's what he's saying. Verse 30. Now therefore, when I come to thy servant my father, and the lad be not with us, seeing that his life is bound up in the lad's life. I mean, if one life for a life. 31, it shall come to pass when he seeth that the lad is not with us, he will die. And thy servant shall bring down the gray hairs of thy servant our father with sorrow to the grave. It will just kill him. Joseph's taking all this in, just letting them, he's stringing them out, but he's finding out what he wanted to know. 32. For thy servant became surety. This is Judah speaking, I became surety for the lad unto my father, saying, if I bring him not unto thee, then I shall bear the blame to my father forever. Joseph's not running. He's laying it out right like it is in the truth. 33. Now therefore, I pray thee, let thy servant abide instead of the lad a bondman to my Lord, and let the lad go up with his brethren. In other words, it's obvious they're not going to sell Benjamin. That's what he wanted to know. That's what Joseph wanted to know. He knew this was God's will. He had enough self-control in serving God, but he still wanted to know what kind of men his half-brothers were. And he's found out. Judah, from whom the king line would come, stood up and faced it head on as a man should. Verse 34, for how shall I go up to my father, and the lad be not with me, lest peradventure I see the evil that shall come on my father. It just will break his heart. He will die right there if this child is not with the men that go back. So hold me. I will be your faithful servant forever, your bondman. But I was the surety. I guaranteed with my own life that this son would come home. Now, this is going to inform Joseph exactly what he wanted to know. And we'll pick it up in the next lecture. But I want you to know that some might say, well, Joseph was a little bit hard on them. No, he wasn't. He had to know for his own benefit, and I certainly do not blame him. Would they do little Benjamin exactly the way they had done him? Would they do that to their own father? I mean, they near broke their father's heart already. And he's proving them and testing them. But don't worry, as we'll find out in the next lecture, Joseph knew all the time that God that sent the dreams and visions of preparing the grain for a starving people, not only his own people, not only Israel, but anyone that would trust Joseph and Joseph's God would have food. And so they did. So we see this type of Savior. So don't miss the next lecture. Hey, listen a moment, won't you please?